Oliver had always appreciated the tranquility that his meticulous routine provided. Working as a graphic designer at an agency, his days unfolded amid deadlines, briefings, and quick coffees. Even so, deep down, he yearned for something to break the monotony, a spark to color the repetitive moments with the excitement of the unexpected. And it was precisely on a Friday night that this change began, as simply as the delivery of a pizza. That night, after a tiring day, Oliver decided to order a pizza to accompany his favorite film. His order was habitual, a thin, crispy base, generously covered with cheese and with a special touch of oregano. The establishment he had always chosen was the same, a local pizzeria which, besides its unmistakable flavor, stood out for the friendliness of its delivery man, Harry. Harry, a young man with an easy smile and an attentive gaze, was already known for his punctuality and the kindness with which he treated customers. That day, as on many others, he was preparing for yet another delivery. He wore a simple t-shirt, jeans, and comfortable trainers that already bore the marks of countless streets traveled. Unbeknownst to him, at that very moment, his usual presence would become the turning point in Oliver's life. When the doorbell rang, Oliver opened the door, and upon seeing Harry with the pizza box in hand, their eyes met for a brief moment that, for both, seemed to carry an unexpected meaning. "Good evening, how are you?" said Harry with a welcoming smile whose sincerity lit up the atmosphere. Oliver, surprised by the young man's cordiality, replied with a slight nod and a restrained smile. He paid the bill, and while Harry was preparing to take his leave, the two exchanged a few words about the evening's weather and how sometimes a simple gesture could brighten the day. "Enjoy your pizza. If you need anything, just call," said Harry, bidding farewell with a discreet wink. After closing the door, Oliver felt something he could not explain. It wasn't just the tempting aroma of the pizza, but the feeling that in that brief encounter something else had been hinted at. That night, he found himself wondering if, in another context, perhaps he could get to know that young man better who, without realizing it, had awakened something in his heart. The following days passed, and Oliver began to order pizza almost daily. Initially, the excuse was the unparalleled taste of the meal, but over time, each order became an opportunity to relive that brief encounter. He waited eagerly for the doorbell, for the sound that announced Harry's arrival, whose presence made the day seem a little less gray. With each delivery, the young man arrived with the same sincere smile, and the brief dialogue became the highlight of Oliver's evening. On a Tuesday night, while receiving his delivery, Oliver decided to engage in conversation more directly. "You always arrive on time. It must be nice to have such a well-defined schedule, isn't it?" Harry, surprised by the approach, laughed softly and replied, "I like to be punctual. It's part of the job, but I also enjoy seeing people's smiles when I deliver the pizza." Oliver smiled back, and in that brief moment, something changed. A silent connection built through glances and the few words exchanged at the door was forming. In the following weeks, the encounters became more than mere deliveries. Oliver began to chat more with Harry, asking about his day, about the stories he experienced on the streets. Harry, in turn, showed genuine interest in Oliver's life, discovering that, besides being a customer, there was a man who longed for understanding and for sharing real moments. On a rainy night when the city lights were reflected in puddles and the sound of raindrops created a soft melody, Oliver made a special order. This time he chose to call the pizzeria directly and asked to speak with Harry, curious to know more about the one who, without realizing it, had become such an important part of his routine. A few minutes later, Harry appeared with the pizza, but also with a look that mixed surprise and a slight anxiety. "Good evening, Oliver. Tonight the weather is different, don't you think?" he commented as he carefully handed over the box with a smile that invited conversation. "Indeed, the rain even seems to conspire to make things cozier," replied Oliver, feeling that the atmosphere of that night carried a special energy. As Harry took his leave, their glances lingered. Without needing many words, both felt that something was beginning there, a connection that grew with each delivery, with each brief encounter. From that day on, the relationship between them took on a different tone, a subtle intimacy that developed over time, unhurried, yet certain that both longed for something deeper. One Saturday, after ordering a pizza to accompany a film, Oliver decided to break the routine. When the doorbell rang and Harry appeared, Oliver, with a shy smile, invited him. "How about a quick coffee here?" Harry hesitated for a moment, but the sincerity of the invitation won him over. He entered, and what began as an informal conversation in the lounge soon transformed into a dialogue full of confidences. Amid laughter and personal stories, the two shared dreams, fears, and little details that until then had remained hidden. "I've always thought that the best things happen when we least expect them," confided Harry, as the rain softly tapped against the window. Oliver nodded, feeling that this moment was the realization of something special, a connection that went beyond work and took root in the very essence of each. Sitting side by side on the sofa, with the dim light of a lamp, they allowed the silence to become as eloquent as words, and each exchanged glance revealed the depth of what was to come. The meetings became increasingly frequent. It was no longer just about a pizza delivery. It was about the reunion of two souls meeting in the simplicity of everyday life. On rainy days, Oliver prepared his home with a cozy atmosphere, eagerly awaiting the moment the doorbell rang, announcing Harry's arrival, not merely as a delivery man, but as someone who made his heart beat a little faster. On a cold winter afternoon, after a delivery, Harry offered to help Oliver organize a small bookshelf. Amid laughter and casual conversation, the two grew physically closer. An accidental touch of hands, a lingering look, and the realization that something more existed beyond the usual. "You know, Oliver, I think the simplest things can be the most significant," said Harry, as he carefully held an old book. "I agree. Sometimes it is in silence that we realize how much someone truly matters," replied Oliver, his eyes sparkling with an emotion he could no longer hide. That afternoon was marked by the feeling that something new and transformative was emerging. Desire made itself known in a subtle way, not impetuously, but like a flame that grew quietly, fed by the affection and complicity of shared moments. On a sunny Sunday, Oliver and Harry arranged to meet outside their usual context. They decided to go to a park, where the green of the trees contrasted with the blue of the sky and the sound of birds composed a natural symphony. Sitting on a bench, the two talked about everything, from childhood memories to the dreams they wished to fulfill. "I never imagined that a simple pizza delivery could transform the way I see life," said Oliver, with a sincere sparkle in his eyes. Harry smiled and replied, "Sometimes the most unexpected paths lead us to the most surprising destinations." The atmosphere was light, yet it carried an intensity that neither could ignore. The accidental touch of hands, the lingering glances, the way laughter mingled with the sound of the wind, all indicated that the bond between them was strengthening with every moment. Over time, the meetings began to occur more frequently and naturally. On a cold night, while watching a film at Oliver's home, the atmosphere filled with a silent intimacy. After the film ended, silence became the vehicle for what their hearts wished to express. I confess that I was left speechless. Truly, I was beginning to realize that that man was much more than I had imagined. We wandered through the house, exchanging glances and confidences until, in the half-light of the bedroom, the atmosphere took on a new dimension. I fell silent, watching as he approached with a smile brimming with intention and affection. "Do you want this?" whispered Harry, his voice choked with emotion, revealing the contained desire and the complicity growing between us. I returned the smile, feeling in every word the sincerity of the sentiment. "It's what I want most," I replied, knowing that this invitation was not merely to prolong the night, but to celebrate the love that, in a subtle way, transformed each encounter into something unique and profound. That moment carried a natural intimacy. It was no longer a transaction or a simple delivery. It was pure pleasure, unhurried, driven by mutual desire and the sincere surrender of two hearts that met by chance and decided together to follow a new path. We spent hours together, talking, laughing, and surrendering to the moment as if time became irrelevant in the face of the intensity of our feelings. When it came time to say goodbye, the glances said it all. A tender smile, a silent nod, and the promise that this was only the beginning of a journey full of discoveries and emotions. The transformation in Oliver's life was profound. What had started as a simple pizza order motivated by taste and routine had turned into the discovery of true love, the kind that is built on the sincerity of gestures, the intensity of glances, and the courage to surrender without reservations. Harry, for his part, found in Oliver something that made him rethink the nature of relationships. It wasn't just about work or a fleeting encounter. There was a connection that went beyond the everyday, rooted in mutual admiration and the desire to share life with someone who understood its nuances. The meetings became more frequent, and the routine, once marked only by deliveries, was now filled with moments of intimacy and emotional exchange. On a spring afternoon, while walking together down a tree-lined street, Oliver, with a trembling yet determined voice, confided, "Harry, I've realized that with you, I no longer need to measure my worth in numbers or contracts. Today, I have chosen to love without reservations, without expecting anything in return, because what I feel is pure and true. Harry took Oliver's hand, and in that simple gesture, the certainty of a new beginning became apparent. I feel that change too, Oliver. What we have is real, unbound, just the desire to build something worth living, he replied, with the sincerity of one who gives himself body and soul to a feeling that defies any explanation. The words floated in the air, laden with emotion and hope, and in that instant, both knew that they had decided to tread a path of no return, a path where love, surrender, and complicity would be the pillars supporting the new story that was beginning. The future was full of possibilities and surprises. Oliver and Harry understood that every encounter, every farewell, was part of a continuous process of discovery and growth. And although fate was uncertain, the certainty of the feeling that united them was unshakable. At the end of a day full of encounters and confidences, when night fell and silence embraced dreams, the two bid each other farewell with a tight hug and a look that said more than any words. Both knew that this was only the beginning of a journey full of love, challenges, and unforgettable moments. Between pizzas and meetings, between glances that met and gestures that spoke without needing explanations, Oliver and Harry continued writing their story, a story of love, surrender, and the discovery that sometimes the most unlikely paths are the ones that lead us to the most surprising destinations. And so, with each new delivery, with each new order, the connection between them grew stronger, transforming a simple service into a life experience, where true affection proved capable of transforming routine and brightening even the grayest of days.
Comment below what you would do in their place. Would you fight, hide your desires, or give in completely? If you liked it, like and share when no one's watching. And don't forget, betrayal is not subscribing to the channel.